Nope.
I blame the printers anyway.
We're staying in the house 100 years.
John, could we replace Keith with AI yet? He's irreplaceable. No, please do.
There is no audio on the live stream. I'm going to lose monitor.
It's muted.
Oh, it's muted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. We got more time.
Oh, boy. Of course, you need me.
She's over.
Yeah, I trust her.
Okay, rest her.
Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 meeting of the College School District Board of Directors is called to order. Mr. Cozy, would you be willing to lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Sure thing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Keith, are you the acting secretary today?
I am.
Will you please take the roll?
Director Apple. Here. Director Bozo.
Here.
Director Redden.
Here.
Director Geary.
Here.
Director Honchar.
Here.
Director O'Brien.
Here.
Director Christoph.
Here.
Director Schreiber.
Here.
And Director Smith.
Here.
I am present.
Thank you much. I'll report we had an executive session prior to this meeting where we discussed personnel matters, legal matters, and information matters. After Dr. Craig for the superintendent report.
Thank you, Director Schreiber. This evening we have several board policies on the agenda. Most are for a first read of the existing policy, and then there are two that are first read for new policies. Revisions to our administration and admission of attendance policies. That's policy 204, goes through and clarifies procedures to ensure alignment with Pennsylvania standards of requirements for compulsory attendance. Updates to our purchasing and budgeting policies. Basically what that does is it takes our adjusting to the bidding and approval thresholds to reflect the state mandated limits that were just recently updated through legislation. So those numbers have been adjusted to match with that. We've also updated our federal fiscal compliance policies to ensure continued alignment with federal grant requirements, internal controls, and reporting expectations. In addition to these, there are two new policies that are being introduced. The first establishes guidelines for non-school sponsored student-initiated groups at the secondary level. This policy ensures that if such groups meet during these non-instructional times, that the district does so in a manner that complies with federal equal access requirements while maintaining appropriate supervision and neutrality. The second new policy formalizes our Title I parent engagement and family engagement expectations. It outlines how the district will continue to involve families in the planning, the implementation, and evaluation of the Title I programs, and ensures compliance with federal requirements related to communication, accessibility, and family involvement. Together, these policies and updates, in addition, help ensure that our practices remain current, compliant, and aligned to best practice. Second piece I have as far as an update, going back to some potential old business with Bus Patrol, just with an update on that Bus Patrol system. Bus Patrol is in the process of installing the stop arm enforcement cameras onto all of our buses. They started yesterday. Their goal is to install the camera system and the electronics behind that on 2 buses per day, total fleet of close to 30 buses total. So the installation of that equipment should take place over the next 3 weeks, so that we'll have our full fleet installed with the stop arm enforcement system. Our district website has also been updated. It now includes additional information, additional updates onto school safety in regard to bus stop safety and as far as traffic laws there. We held meetings recently with our local law enforcement, also with Judge Kavistik is also involved in informational training and just familiarization of that legal network and that framework on how to process citations and so on. So as we shared before, the big component to the Bus Patrol software is just making sure that when we get reports of violations, that when I say we, the local law enforcement agencies, is they're going through and reviewing those videos with integrity, making sure that the citations get issued are for valid illegal passing of school buses. That's the crux of which citations then are issued. When individuals are issued citations, they will get the exact same information that law enforcement gets as far as the video. They'll be able to access a button that goes on to the internet and be able to see each of those videos that demonstrates where the violation has occurred, allows them to make an informed decision on whether or not they would contest that citation. Prior to the initiation of the enforcement side, we project the enforcement side to begin sometime in March. Prior to that occurring, we'll push out additional information to our community, make sure that our community members, it's not necessarily just our constituents in regard to our parents and our families, it's a broader community effort to make sure that we push that information out on bus stop, traffic laws, and things of that nature to bring awareness to the new enforcement strategies that we have in place. As always, this system here is designed to protect our students, both their bus stops, boarding and disporting school buses at a variety of locations across the district. Back in January of 2025, we distributed information out to our community in regard to implementation, internal protocols that we have addressing the presence of federal agents on district property. It also includes immigration and customs enforcement agencies. At that time, the district established a training response team, adopted clear procedures for staff, and issued written guidelines outlining staff responsibilities should federal agents report to any of our school buildings. Concurrent with those actions, the district communicated directly with families. That communication was on January 31st, 2025. That also outlined our legal obligation in reassuring families that student safety, privacy, and FERPA protections would be upheld. At the start of the 2025-2026 school year, these expectations and procedures were once again shared with all staff, reminding them of our established protocols, including documentation and response team responsibilities. These measures remain in effect today and align with current legal guidance. Any interaction with federal, state, or local law enforcement agencies is handled centrally by the district administration in conjunction with our legal counsel and with student safety and privacy as our top priorities. This week, the district also intends to attend a webinar to ensure that district's procedures are aligned to best practice. Additionally, the district provided both Monarch and Ronick, those are two of our major transportation providers, with formal written protocols outlining required procedures if any outside law enforcement or federal agents attempt to access students during transportation. This ensures from our side a consistent and clear message that both the district and our transportation providers follow. So as a district, we'll continue to monitor any developments in this area. We'll reinforce procedures with staff and partners and communicate transparency with our school community while maintaining a safe and supportive environment for all our students and for all of our staff. Important information, as I know this topic has recently hit the news cycle again. we recognize that there's many families in our school district that are very conscientious of what's going on a national level, and in some cases, some of our families are hesitant to have their kids leave their houses, attend school. So our goal is just to reassure our community that we do have protocols in place, that student safety, protection of their privacy is paramount. And it's our role to respect that and also respect the legal side of things as well. So that concludes my superintendent report this evening.
Any questions, board? Any report? We move on to representative reports. So Parkway West, Director Apple, anything to share? Parkway West.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we had a meeting on the 3rd of February at Parkway. A couple of highlights. I think like a lot of organizations, governmental organizations these days, are running low on road salt, which has been an issue like a lot of places. Also, Parkway West summer career exploration camp for middle school students is going to be held on June 17th, 2026. It's going to be one day this year. Our Parkway West operating budget and jointure budget will be on our agenda this evening, or are on our agenda this evening. Board members to vote in favor of that. Budgets represent a 3% increase in member school districts. And in order for the budgets to be approved, they require 8 of the 12 member school districts, so there's 12 school districts in our jointure, 8 of which need to approve it, and 55 of the 108 individual board members to vote to be permanent, so that's the majority of board members. Also, the Parkway Senior Recognition Ceremony, which is their graduation ceremony, it's going to be held at Robert Morris University again, as it was last year on May 13th. It's a pretty big deal and very, very well attended. So felt that it was a good thing to have it back out in Army, and I was thinking the number of people who would like to attend. Cost for it went up a little bit from last year, $1,500 increase. But that'll be on the 13th of May at 6 p.m. And open house is on the 3rd of March from 5 to 7 p.m. And then big news, the annual fish fry begins on the 20th. It's takeout only, and it will be, it's just such an amazing deal. And I have the menu and information for anyone who'd like to see it, after to share it. In fact, we could maybe put it on the district's Facebook page. I'm happy to do that. I looked on the website, there's really nothing to find, but basically, hours are 2 to 6, you gotta call ahead and order. It's an incredible deal, really. So, and the Parkway West 26-27 academic calendar came out starting on August the 19th, and last day will be May 26th. That's all I have.
Pathfinder, Dr. Hunshaw, any updates on Pathfinder?
Thank you, Jim. The enrollment in Pathfinder is still pretty steady at 88 kids. We still need employees, especially for the one-on-one kids. We need 6 of those employees. Those are the people with the biggest hearts, because it's tough to work with those kids. David Massey, he's our grounds man, and he's found a grant that opened February 1st, but closes so quickly on March the 1st. It's going to, with only a 25% outlay for Pathfinder, we could, if we get this grant, take care of the boiler problem and the 1960s windows that have been the highest priority for repairs. So we have amazing Mount Lebanon rep who, during the meeting, pulled together all of the paperwork for this. She is just amazing. And we're hoping to get this to help to modernize Pathfinder. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Shasta, Director.
Yeah, so Shasta continues its quarterly student recognition program, which was launched last year to highlight students who demonstrate meaningful growth and perseverance. The recognition aligns with Shasta's mission to foster growth and improvement in public education through collaborative efforts. Each quarter, students are nominated by their schools for demonstrating significant improvement in academic performance and work for overcoming personal challenges. Criteria for selection may include improved grades or assessment performance, enhanced attendance, or exceptional growth in academics, the arts, or practical skills. The intent is to recognize students whose effort and determination have contributed to the school. So for quarter one of this academic year, Samuel Stott from the 9th grade was recognized for his demonstrated growth and commitment to improvement. And then for quarter two, our very own Rose Highfield was recognized for the senior class. In addition to her academics and perseverance, Rose serves as our school directors, as a student representative, and her leadership, voice, and dedication to both her own success and the success of her peers reflect the very spirit this recognition is designed to honor. So each student received a certificate of recognition and a $10 gift card on behalf of Shasta. We congratulate both Samuel and Rose and commend them for their continued growth, resilience, and positive contributions to the Carleton School District. In the third quarter, Craxton Elementary and Carnegie Elementary will have the opportunity to nominate a student for recognition, ensuring that students at each of the elementary schools are also celebrated for their growth, perseverance, and achievement.
Legislative PSBA, who's got any updates?
Yes, so the governor presented his budget to the House and Senate on February 3rd. Basic education funding is proposed at $8.31 billion, which recommends just a $50 million increase over last year. That's less than 1 percentage point, so it's widely expected to break even with expenditures. Special education funding, the governor proposes at $1.58 billion, which is a $50 million increase over last year, 3.27%. And Ready to Learn at $1.95 billion, which is a $565 million increase, which is about 40% over last year. There is, within the governor's proposed budget, a little bit of extra funding for career and technical education, about $14 million, but there is some additional call for flexibility in course load requirements for career and technical education, including allowing general education classes to count towards career and tech programs of study, as well as allowing for schools to create blended classwork and giving veterans some credit for becoming career and technical education teachers. The other notable move forward, so of course, the budget goes to the House and Senate now at this point to start to have hearings. Another notable legislative update is that House Bill 17 was signed into law earlier this week. It now requires cursive handwriting to be taught in K-12 schools. It will take effect on April 12th. Of this year. It is now Act 2. It is also an unfunded mandate. Yeah.
So Susie or John, how are we going to implement cursive in 2 months?
Did we say, remember back in the old days, above the.
Yeah. That was black.
The letter Q, yes. Yeah, the letter Q say. So one of the things we need to wait for is we're waiting for PDE guidance as far as curricular implementation, specifically what it requires. On a cursory review of the legislation right now, what we did not see is a specific number of hours that need to be dedicated towards cursive instruction. It just indicates that we need to provide it. So there most likely will be some flexibility at the local level to determine how much time we dedicate towards that, where we embed it, whether we embed it into social studies, most likely not into math, but any curricular areas that would have a natural integration towards it to enhance the student skills in cursive writing. So when the legislature passes things at the PDE level, in many cases, it's 60 days from the signing of the act. So, we have 60 days and then it becomes a requirement. So, I know that Dr. Taylor has this on his radar, working with our teachers to determine how, when, where, and to what degree, how we assess it moving forward. So, I think it'll be more in action as far as moving forward. Hit the basic requirements this year to make sure we're abiding by it, and then work to expand from there.
Thank you.
Well, perhaps we'll be able to limit it to just teaching our kids how to make a signature. Like, that's all they need to know how to do. Like, if they print.
Well, then also, we work with like my son gets OT services for handwriting, so I can only imagine how difficult this is. So will we incorporate, like, do the OT providers know that this is coming down the pipe? So.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, and it goes back to, is there any way that we can embed technology to help and assist with it, as far as different types of apps, with different types of technology software that we're taking a look at as well.
So it's like a short meeting?
Bring back Morse code.
Wait, do you remember in the old days when we did it and they like put them into an envelope and sent them somewhere? It was like a really big deal when then it was sent back and somebody had like, whoever looked at them, I don't know where they got sent. And they would come back and you wanted yours to come back with a sticker on it. Like, come on. Huh? That was how it worked in the 80s. It just like, it was sent somewhere in an envelope. Anyway.
Mr. O'Brien, I'm just gonna say I 100% agree with your, let's just do signatures, because I don't think I need to know how to sign a letter Q and for anything in my life.
I mean, if you print it and you print effectively, like, that's fine. And most of your life, you're gonna type anyway, so if you can type with more than 2 fingers, you're like,
The problem is you can't understand documents like the Declaration of Independence and so forth. It's cursive is very important.
AI can read it for him, George. AI can read it out loud, all the words.
Dr. Taylor, Dr. Credit,
AI.
what was the impetus? Is it just, is there some kind of like theory that helps developmental, like hand, brain stuff?
And the brain coordination, and I believe,
The part that is a little bit interesting about it, normally any type of curricular updates will go through the education committee, whereas in this particular case, it did not go through the education committee. So it didn't go through the review as far as any type of curriculum. I can't recall who the author of the bill was, I'm not sure. Yeah.
So I agree with your comment about, they're gonna be typing both of us anyway, but do we have a typewriting teaching course here in this district?
We embed keyboarding in other classes right now.
So thank you for your update. Foundation, another.
Yeah, just a short update. So I shared previously that the Taste of Carleton will be Monday, April 27th, and right now the foundation is working to recruit vendors for that event, so I'll share next month.
So we put April 27th on your calendar for Taste of Carleton. It's a great event. Any questions about any of the reports tonight from any board member? Okay, moving on. Student representative reports. Who's going to go first? Juniors or seniors?
I can hear from you first.
Okay. All right. I'm Jackson Key, and I'm the representative for the junior class.
And I'm Rose Hetfield, and I'm the representative for the senior class.
We're both honored to have the opportunity to have student concerns from the students at Carleton partake in. and overall like what we're doing with our time, besides school. So as our old business, after the return, the student government had a monthly meeting and decorated the halls for Valentine's Day. But we take the decorations down and decorate for Ramadan too. They spoke about the Cougar Cafe, potential upcoming drinks, like a special refresher, collaboration with Black Student Union for Black History Month. The drink is planned to sell February 16th through the 28th, and will be a strawberry and peach refresher with a sugar-free peach ring on top. Sounds interesting. The Black Student Union plans to print out stickers to put on each of the cups, or to give each person invited their drink. Isaiah Wall, an officer of the BSU, came to the meeting to pitch his idea, and members were fond of the idea. He stated that the funds they received for this drink will go towards a Black-led nonprofit organization, fundraiser, or charity.
And at the same meeting, members of the student government discussed thoughts about positive contribution or routine implemented in the school. As several elements of the school that are already lasting today have been implemented by the student government. And so one that is in the works is getting a playlist as a small routine before homeroom for students to kind of liven the hallways and to bring joy early in the morning. And also Ms. Beck, which is our advisor for student government for several years. Since she's retiring this year, she's reflecting and appreciating the students' excellence and leadership in the program and wanting to implement more positive contributions. And one they're also trying to plan out is even bigger, and they want to impact the school in the spirit. Oh yeah, and the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards has been released regionally, and students have either received a honorable mention, silver key, or gold key award. And those who have gotten a silver award will start off their pieces at Carnegie Mellon for the ceremony or event that will be on March 7th, 2006, or 2006, or 2026. And so I'm honored to have gotten an honorable mention for my personal essay and a silver key for the dress I designed sewed, called As Days of Veracity Events, which symbolizes emotional depth and authenticity.
All right, an exciting opportunity for the college band students occurred just this past week and weekend, where they traveled to New York City. This trip was more than just one day away from school and was an incredible educational and performance experience. Students got to see city attractions and explore Times Square, as well as see Wicked. Trips like these build responsibility because they are responsible for keeping a respectable persona and maintaining a good reputation for the school. Also, it allows the students to be rewarded for working hard and showing their dedication to their talents and practice. We are so proud to see them achieve this milestone and be able to go to the big city.
And additionally, for new business, the school musical this year is Musical, which is a family-friendly performance that mixes Dr. Seuss's beloved stories like Order to Hear Who, Enter to McFuzz, I think is how you pronounce the last name. While narrated by the Cat in the Hat. And the plot basically follows Thornton, the elephant, and trying to protect the little Who's of Whoville. And there's a child who is named Jojo, and he has a very crazy imagination. And so students stay after school on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Sundays to rehearse, and they've been working very hard, and so have the student stage crew members, and they help create the set, and costume designers like director Susie and Rose Green work on the costuming. And soon it will be available to watch to anybody on March 25th and through March 29th.
The beginning of the new year is a huge time for all students, and scheduling has already begun. The drag that is the scheduling process. Students have begun scheduling throughout this week. It opened up for us to actually be able to look at what we want to put on our schedules for the upcoming 26-27 school year. Of course, this does not apply to seniors. Not to rub it in at all. The students are being met with so they can review the program of studies, and we can get our courses in as soon as possible. As for seniors, some have been finalizing their transcripts for colleges, community schools, and applying for scholarships to help get better aid for school after college. These scholarships can be found when researching on their own time or being discovered and released weekly by counselors.
And not only are these scholarships very beneficial to me to keep an eye out for, but so are inspiration for designs of graduation caps. So this year is actually the first year that seniors are permitted to design their graduation caps by Ms. Wilson. And now that she's approved it, there's obviously procedures and guidelines that they must follow. But either way, students are very thorough and it's been asked for several years. And they're able to either paint or bedazzle, just to put a little sprinkle of personalization on their caps. And in honor of this amazing chapter that is coming to an end. But they're overall very thorough and well, follow the guidelines, but they're very excited about that career.
That's all we got.
Any questions? Congratulations on the scholarship, that's great. All right, Dr. Taylor, has anybody signed up to ask any questions about agenda items tonight?
Yes, Mary Kazowski.
Okay, Mary Kazowski, want to ask a question?
I haven't been to a board meeting in a long time. I have 3 children that were educated through Burlington, all being very successful. And I was just really quite disappointed to see Ms. Cova sitting for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I just feel that we were kind of misled as voters, that she feels that way, that she can't stand for the pledge. It's a poor example for these students, and I'm just disappointed.
Let me ask our solicitor to make that comment.
Just from a legal standpoint, individuals in public schools are not required.
And I do understand that there's
that's-
freedom, but I'm just saying as an example.
It's free speech and it's symbolic speech.
I understand that, I do, but it still sets a poor example, and it's very sad to see that. On the other hand, I am glad you're going to start first of all.
Dr. Taylor, anybody else sign up for agenda? We will then move on. Under section C, we have minutes from previous meetings. I'll entertain a motion to approve the 3 minutes under section C.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, thank you very much. Any questions or comments? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Section D, miscellaneous, there is one item. I'll entertain a motion to approve that item.
It's a presentation item.
So yes, Dr. Taylor. Can you tell them?
Good evening. Very pleased this evening to be able to share an academic update with the board and the public. And I just want to note that this is really a student achievement executive summary. It's very high level. It's not in the weeds of the data, but we have a lot to be proud of, and I want to make sure I share the successes with you. I'm starting off with the fact that I want to share our mission and vision, because I think it's very important that everything we talk about with student achievement and academics and curriculum is always to prepare our students to be successful in a dynamic global economy. So tonight I really have 3 major categories in the next steps. First is local national rankings, because I think it's important sometimes that we have to kind of, have a yardstick and measure ourselves against other districts, locally, regionally, statewide, and national. Then I'll talk about SAT and AP, PSA and student achievement, and then some next steps. So first, let me highlight some local and regional rankings. I don't know how many years back, I did try and Google search, but I couldn't find any year, at least the last several years, that Craft Elementary has ever received one of the best elementary schools in the country from the U.S. News and World Report, and they did receive that this past year in 2026. So congratulations to Craft and students and families and teachers. They were ranked number 326 out of 1,575 elementary schools, which was a 79 out of 100, which is an excellent score. Again, I'll look at the stories of the group. Jim, I don't know if Craft has been on this before. I could not find any evidence. The high school had it before. Do you anyone know?
Craft has had it 2 or 3 times in the last.
At Craft?
I thought it was by building.
I
a building within Carleton has had in the last 15 years, 2 or 3 times. I just don't remember.
Junior, senior high school, absolutely. I can't find any recent history of Craft specifically getting this, so I think this is a monumentous award for our students. As you said, the junior senior high is once again the best high schools list for U.S. News and World Report 25-26 rankings, and they actually increased their rankings over the previous years. I won't read those things to you. Certainly, I will have this available for anyone who wants a copy of the presentation, but they did go from 4528 to 4081, which is a nice jump in the rankings there. When you look at regional and state rankings, the Pittsburgh Business Times, for those of you who are familiar with that publication, it does an annual publication of all the school rankings across the state. And it uses things like your ELA scores, your math scores, your science scores, your standardized test scores, and it ranks based on certain criteria. And so I was really pleased this last rankings that came out that shows in Allegheny County and in southwestern Pennsylvania, which that category is comprised of 105 school districts in this region. And then in Pennsylvania, you can see we went up in our rankings in every one of those 3 areas as a school district. And again, I think it's a testament to our wonderful teachers and students and families are working really hard to do better things for kids. SATs and AP, I'd like to talk about this a little bit because I think sometimes our achievements in these areas can go under the radar. And when we look at the fact that Carleton students on the evidence reading and writing and the math part of the SAT, that we are above the average of all public schools in the country and all schools across the country, I think that says something. I think that's phenomenal. Our score 576 over the 508 for U.S. public schools is a pretty big jump. And in math for 532 and the average is 488. What's even more impressive is when you look at the actual College Board has something they call a benchmark. And what they do is they have certain benchmarks. They say, well, this student is college ready. Based on these criteria, it's a very complicated form, but basically 97% of the students in the class of 2025 that took the SAT on the evidence, reading, and writing, 97% of those students met or exceeded that benchmark. Now that's phenomenal because look at the average across the country. It's 60%. 60%, and we're at 97% meeting or exceeding the benchmark. These are the kind of things I feel like we're like this little secret that we know about everything going on in our district, so we really have to advertise those things. Moving on, I will honestly tell you, this is made up by me. That's an honor roll. It's not official. I just make it up because I feel like if you can get 90% of your kids in an AP class to get a passing score of 3, 4, 5 on AP tests, that's something special. That's really special. And we have 2 classes, the English literature and US history, where 100% of the kids last year passed the AP test. That's a rigorous test. That is a really hard test to take. So, wanted to have some kind of shout out to them. So this is the AP honor roll. Now, AP Scholar is not made up by me. This is actually a designated award from the College Board. It's a national designation, and what it is if you have students taking 3 or more AP exams while they're in high school, and they get a passing score of 3, 4, or 5, then you get to be an AP Scholar. What I'm really proud of is that last year we had 17 AP Scholars identified by College Board, which is the highest number in the previous 5 years. And I don't even actually know what it was prior to 21 because I don't have that data, but I definitely know it's been the highest in 5 years. So again, these things are kind of like under the radar, and I want to bring them up because what a great job our students are doing. So PSAs and Keystones highlight very high level. I would like to highlight grade 5 in math. So grade 5 had an average of 13% higher over 1 year, which is a great percent in 1 year. So they went proficient and advanced 13% more. From 2021 to 2025, proficiency rate in math has grown from 20 to 38%. So it grew by 11%. So we're moving. We're definitely moving. Do we have some areas of concern? Absolutely we do. Last year, year over year, we went down 3% overall. but it's something that we knew was going to happen. We kind of anticipated the fact that this is the first time that all Carleton students took their state assessments on a device. So they usually do like little paper pencils and fill the dots. Well, last year was the first year everyone had to go to a computer. And there's a huge difference between taking a paper and pencil test and a computer-based test. So it's pretty average that those schools you see a slight dip in their scores the first time they take it on the test, but then as the time goes on, it goes back up. ELA, grade 8 had a 13% increase from last year, which is phenomenal. Now we have a -6% from 21 to 25, and we have a year, 24, 25, 1 year is a -10%. I don't want to say specifically why I think that happened, but I would say that our demographics have changed, and I think that does not surprise me in the least bit, because our enrollment has changed a little bit. So we have identified some root issues, and we're working on those, but overall, grade 8 did a phenomenal job. Our key student exams in biology and literature were above the state average. Algebra or not, we know algebra is something to be working on. This is all the students taking the key student exam last year up until grade 11. Our next steps, we have 2 major hurdles. The 2 hurdles to help our scores are time and change. Like, it always comes down to 2 overarching issues. When you talk about time, we have got to analyze our data, identify our root causes. We have to come up with very, very structured, meaningful action plans, which I've been already starting to do this, and provide additional professional development time for our teachers. And then we have to change how we do our curriculum, how we write it, how we teach it, and how we assess it. Because if we don't change how we do these 3 things, we're never going to increase our scores. We're just not. And we're working on that. It's a process, but it takes time. So again, just want to celebrate some successes. Increases in student rankings. In Pittsburgh Business Times, pretty big ranking increases. U.S. News and World Report best schools for both Crafton and high school. Highest number of AP scholars in 5 years, and then significantly higher average reading and writing SAT scores compared to national averages. 97% is a phenomenal number, and I'm very proud of it. Any questions?
Jeff, I have a question. The PSSAs, does that include our English as a second language kids?
So it does include them.
So that's probably part of it, right? Especially if you're English.
So if the students are coming into the country and it's their first year in the country, their score is omitted. But after the first year, they do have a count against your overall averages. But I will tell you that some of the students, it takes longer than a year to understand enough English to take a standardized assessment.
Thanks.
Dr. Chen, can I also, just because some people in the public might not be aware, it's gonna become a state mandate that tests are done on the computer, correct? We were piloting it last year because, is it this year?
It's this year, everyone has to take it online. We were one of the first ones to do it last year, so that's why you see some of ours went down a little bit than the other ones. I mean, other schools that did online, their scores went down as well, because I talked to people that they had to do. But this year, everyone has to do it online, and it is a huge difference.
So last year you implemented some strategies to help improve these. Do you see them, the efforts that were made in the scores?
In the targeted strategies we look for them, yes. But we're trying to target them from a school-wide, down to a grade level, down to a classroom level, down to an individual student level. And to do all that, it just doesn't happen in 1 year. It usually takes about 3 to 4 years to do that, all the way down to student level for every individual student. There's just a lot of supports that are needed. But the target strategy we implemented last year, and we measured the data last year compared to the current school year, and we saw increases in those areas. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Back to the agenda. We did need to vote on Jeff's presentation, but it was a vote worthy of your presentation.
Thank you.
Under section E, finance, we're going to motion to approve the 7 items.
I make a motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
So number 7, we talked a bit about last week, and maybe just some clarification of all of some of the questions we asked. And also, in response to some of the concerns that come in the public, this isn't actually taking away physical parking spots from a view, no matter what the park is. You don't necessarily have to have it.
Right, I don't think it's an enforceable component there. If you don't have an electric vehicle.
So we're not losing two parking.
Technically. So the way that this motion is structured is it grants or provides the authority for the superintendent to work with a legal team, to work with Brandon, to acquire additional information about the program. It does not authorize the superintendent or our solicitor to make any action on behalf of the school district. It just provides us the opportunity to enter into negotiations and discussions with them to acquire additional information, so that in the event that it would need to be approved, if we would get to a resolution we think is acceptable for the district, it will then go on the board agenda for final approval by the board.
If I recall our conversations previously, most members, or maybe all members, were cautiously supportive. We did not want to subsidize electricity. So if they were charging, they were paying for that electricity. We didn't have a huge number of chargers, the minimal number I think that we looked at. Any other caveats or data points that the board wants to share with the superintendent, so he has a good framework for what we're interested in or not interested in?
I understand who has to fix and repair anything that does not work, who owns, like what,
Right.
warranties, things like that.
What we heard from the borough in the last couple of days is that there are packages you can buy from vendors that are extended warranties and maintenance agreements. What level of detail that includes, I don't know that we know yet, we will find out. But the one that was issued for that is a 5-year comprehensive program. We carve out, this is 10-year an option as well. So we'll see if that is something that Dr. Craig is looking at. Does that kind of answer your question? Any other caveats or questions?
About different.
If there's nothing else, you can share other questions.
This purpose will be about budgeting for number 6. If the Parkway budget that they requested is in line with what our expectations were, works out. It works out. Yeah.
It's a 3% increase. It's what we expected. We look over the numbers.
Any other questions or comments on the motions on the table? If not, vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under section 6 personnel, letter F personnel, there are 2 items. Can I have a motion to approve this? Thank you. Moved and
Second.
second, thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Not a vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Policy services, section H. I'll entertain a motion to approve the items under section H, policy.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, thank you very much. Any questions or comments?
Yes, I just have a couple of questions. Yeah, it's just about the new policy 918, and I realize this is the first read, but I just have a couple of questions. About the policy and reading through it, and I think this is a great policy, as a parent myself whose children benefit from Title I reading and math, I think this is great. I'm just curious about what the district plan is once, if the policy is passed, like how to engage families, how we're picking families to be part of the conversations. Are we going to send out an email saying, hey, if you're interested? So that's my first question. I don't know if you want me to ask my question.
Go ahead.
Okay. The second one, as I was reading through it, one of the things in there, it said that parents shall be expected at a minimum, and one of them was to volunteer in classrooms. And so I just get a little cautious about that. And if that's in there, I'm not saying they have to, but as a lot of working families, that's, that, when you see that, oh, my expectation is to volunteer in the classroom, might not be able to take a day off of work to volunteer in the classroom. Also, some parents may not be able to get their clearances to volunteer in the classroom. And so, I'm just curious if we can change maybe the language to recommended, maybe. And then, talking about again, back to the planning meetings, like how will parents get notified when there's a meeting, that sort of stuff. So those are just some questions I had.
Yeah. So to address those three pieces, the engagement procedure, notification, I think, campaigning, or at least combined in the same bucket there, just with the communication protocol. So with that, we'll push that into our communication plan as far as reaching out and sharing information with parents. So basically through e-blasts, we have targeted types of correspondences with parents that we know that are a part of that process, and any type of district publications that we can include that into, just to bring awareness of the policy itself and the opportunity for parental engagement. As far as the specific volunteer language, well, we'll take a look at that specific part of that language and review it to see if there's any areas we need to refine with that. And brings up a good point as far as between the first read and the second read. First read gives the board the opportunity to review that, so that if there are any modifications in between the reads, we can do that. So we'll take a look at that.
Thanks.
I have a question about the weapon policy. Would this include mace? Because if it does, I think we need to put it in there as an example. Because that is not something that you think could be included. And I know kids have mace attached to their car keys sometimes for safety reasons. And I think if we need it to be included, I think we need to leave that, put that in as an example. Because everything in there now sounds like, it sounds not like mace. So I don't know whether we intend for that to be included or not, but if we do it, we need to put it in.
Yeah, so with that, what is it, 218.1?
Yes.
Yeah, so with 218.1, it's really just a reread, a refresh. I think it was written in 2016. There hasn't been any recommended changes with PSBA, but we did want to, what we're doing, our philosophy has been take a look at some of the policies that we have not approved in quite some time to give a refresh or reread for, again, these types of purposes to look at, because it's been.
Right. I don't know that I personally agree that it should include mace, but I happen to have a coworker whose daughter was going to the prom, and they were doing a bag search, and she had mace in her purse because she's a runner, and that's just attached to her keys, and she was not allowed to go to the prom. And I feel like that's a little different than the types of weapons that are described in here, so I don't know that I personally think that it should be included in there. So I think we should decide. So as part of our next read, can we figure out if we have to include it, and if we don't, I think we
So
should.
what we'll ask Mr. Julia to do is just take a look at the statute to determine that. In many of those cases, there's some levels of discretion based on intent of that, because when you think of it globally,
Right.
could this be a weapon?
Right.
If used in the right way, it could be. So there is some discretion with that as far as doing our investigative work into the situation to determine whether or not
Right.
it's there for a purpose.
Well, with the intent thing, I mean, you're right, if somebody attacks somebody with a pen,
Right.
then we deal with that in other ways, but bag searches will capture
They
mace.
do.
So if we do not, I don't want that to be an unintended consequence unless it has to be included in there.
And these are the types of things that hit the news cycle. Every so often, you'll read about the child who brought this, that, or the other, and boom, they've been expelled for a year on something that we think is pretty obvious. So it does come down to.
As the parent of a daughter, mace to me feels like a safety device, not a weapon. So,
And it is hard to tell from the definitions.
As I say, some districts, like Kids Republic, classify it as a weapon.
Right.
So it can't be brought in and you can get caught
It
with it.
creates
Some
a
districts
safety,
don't.
it
Yeah.
creates public safety issues where we can, but how it's treated and processed and
So let's explore that one further.
The statute specifically does not include mace in the definition of a weapon. That's where the policy came from. I just double checked. But it does say that this policy is up for expiration 2026 in the General Assembly of Pennsylvania. But it's not there.
Does it exclude me specifically?
It just doesn't.
It
It's the same
doesn't address it
definition
at all.
in our policy.
That's
It
kind
addresses
of
all.
all, let's see if there's case law or
Right.
something. Okay.
But I would agree with, I think it's important to keep it flexible because of intent. I think it's very important. A bag search versus someone intending
Right.
to hurt somebody.
Any other policy questions?
I think Dr. Kreider might be helpful just for audience and community members if we just go over what the new policies are and like sort of a brief overview of what we're adding.
New policies.
Yeah.
So the first new policy would be 1.2.1, which is the non-curricular related, non-school sponsored student initiated groups. This policy basically goes through and establishes a formal framework for student initiated groups at the secondary level. They're not directly connected to the curriculum and are not school sponsored. The reason for it that we need this new policy is federal law requires that the district allow one non-curricular student group to meet during non-instructional time and must provide equal access to all such groups, regardless of the content of their speech. So the policy ensures that we meet those requirements while maintaining appropriate school oversight. Policy outlines that these groups must be voluntary, must be student initiated, must be student led, and must meet during non-instructional time. So while the district will not provide appropriate supervision for the safety and the order, the meetings cannot be sponsored directly by the school or by its employees. So the clear expectations are included regarding the use of facilities, communication methods, and disclaimers indicating that such groups are not school sponsored. So overall, just make sure that our student-initiated clubs are aligned to federal guidelines as far as participation and use of facility, and in particular with the supervision component to it also. Second policy, which is 918, that's the Title I Parent and Family Engagement. This one is new because it establishes a comprehensive framework to ensure the district remains fully compliant with federal Title I requirements. Title I has an impact on our financial plans, so if we're not following federal code based on Title I, it could have an impact on our funding. So it formalizes expectations that parents and family members are active partners in the education process and in the development and evaluation of Title I programs. So one of the pieces that we covered at our last superintendent's forum was Dr. Taylor doing a brief section on that meeting for title purposes and for federal programming to have this partially annual meeting with parents to provide some input towards that. Requires ongoing outreach, meaningful opportunities for families to participate in planning, reviewing, and improving Title I programs and school improvement efforts. Also establishes expectations for accessible communication, annual meetings developed at the school, parent contacts, and advisory opportunities for families to provide input. In addition, it requires the district to reserve a portion of Title I funds specifically to support parent and family engagement activities, which we've, over the past few years, I think made some very considerable gains with the Title I and our use of funding. So basically, when you tie those two pieces together, it's taking a look at the federal requirements, making sure that we have policy that oversees those two pieces, those areas that have not necessarily been covered from our policy manual in the past.
Any other questions on policy? If not, on vote, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Old business, any old business, any other discussion? New business, any director, any new business, any other director? Okay, open forum. Dr. Taylor, any open forum questions from the audience?
No.
No. Board members, any open forum questions? None. Should we see the road?
Oh, wait, I'm just.
meeting.
I'm making a motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, say